Hi, everyone. Welcome to Domain Sherpa. And as always, thank you for tuning into the podcast with the best domain name and digital asset content in the world. Today's episode is a Down the Rabbit Hole, where Drew and I dive into the hot off the presses announcement of GoDaddy partnering with ENS, which is the Ethereum Name Service, to offer customers a way to connect a domain name to a crypto wallet. And since it's a Down the Rabbit Hole, as we say here on Domain Sherpa, all roads lead to domains. And in the reverse, our work with domains has us venturing all the time into different areas, hence the jump down the rabbit hole. So this is our tech adjacent digital assets, pop culture, tangent positive podcast with some domain stuff thrown in for good measure. Jen is often on the show, but today it's just Drew and I digging into what is a super interesting topic, very close to us in our business. So we talk about what the announcement means for Web 2 domains, Web 3 domains, DNS, the Web 3 space in general, and more. And remember, if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, you can also watch the video version at DomainSherpa.com and in our YouTube channel at ds.tv. You can also listen to the shows on Apple and Spotify and other podcast platforms as well. And please make sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button everywhere you can to help Domain Sherpa grow the pie. Also, we integrate our shows with Muse.ai, which provides search functionality for the shows and transcripts as well. So definitely check all that out. And props to our sponsor, Dan.com, the #1 place in the world to buy and sell your domains with a special platform made for domain investors. And special shout out to our own business, MediaOptions, the #1 domain brokerage in the world, specializing in domain acquisitions, sales, and appraisals. Find out more at MediaOptions.com, where you can also sign up for our newsletter for the best domain names and domain opportunities available in the market every week, and also featuring key insights and other helpful information related to branding, naming, and especially domain investing. With that, it's now time to get into this episode of Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains. So let's jump down the rabbit hole. What's up, Sherpa Network? Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Jonathan Tenenbaum, a.k.a. JT, a.k.a. Jay On, a.k.a. Sherpa Winfrey, the host and producer of Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains. Today's show is kind of like a down the rabbit hole. This is a little bit of a departure from our Domain Sherpa review and other stuff. We kind of have some news hot off the press that we decided to talk about today. We actually weren't even going to do a show this week, but there was an announcement today that GoDaddy has partnered with ENS domains to basically make it so that you can connect Web 2 domains to crypto wallets. And obviously this is I think it's important. I think it's interesting. And again, it's hot off the press, so we're going to talk about that today. So again, we're doing this under Down the Rabbit Holes. We say here on Domain Sherpa, all roads lead to domains. In the reverse, our work with domains has us venturing all the time into different areas and things. Some more familiar crypto NFTs, digital assets, and other stuff not so familiar. Hence the jump down the rabbit hole. This is obviously part of our bread and butter, very much in our wheelhouse. Rabbit holes, I often will co-host with Jen. Today, I got my boy Drew. I guess I'll go ahead and do a couple AKAs, AKA Morpheus, AKA Dirk Diggler, Digital Assets, Bob Lee Swagger, the Sniper, AKA Graybeard, the Domain Pirate live from Thailand. Andrew Rosner, what's up, man? How you doing, dude?
Yeah, good.
Going
to be my last episode of Domain Sherpa from Asia. Got 2 weeks left in the trip. One more week here in Chiang Mai, and then headed on a boat, go sail the west coast of Thailand, the Ottoman Sea, and then it's back to reality.
Back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Yeah, man. I don't know why we haven't been calling you Marco Polo. You know what I'm saying? A little AKA. You know what I'm saying? That actually would have been a good fit. I sold
MarcoPolo.com years ago.
Of course you did. That's because that's what we do. That's what you do.
Somewhere we should have a record. We should just have a page that's just like a blanket list of all of the domain names that MediaOptions has ever transacted. It'd be a big page. It'd be a big list. Well, it would drop some jaws, that's for sure.
Well, if you look at the new website, right? I mean, obviously, but if to the audience, if you go to MediaOptions.com, you can kind of see some of the stuff we've done. But really, I mean, we only have like 12 of the
few highlights. Yeah, it's just a few highlights.
But yeah, I think it would be good to have like a successes page. All the domains that we're allowed to reference that we've helped sell, help buy.
Yeah, I mean, if we're not giving any price information, I mean, I think we can. There's maybe a few exceptions where we can at least just say we were involved in this deal.
All right, Billy. Billy, you hear that? It's time to get a new page moving on the website. Let's go. Let's go, Billy.
Get your
it
page
going.
on. It's gonna be, MediaOptions.com/brag.
Not even
Forward
humble
slash
brag.
forward slash chest pound.
It's the what's the opposite of a humble brag? Like an unhumble brag. I guess
Mhm.
that's just bragging, and that's just bragging by default. But hey, look, when you can back it up, you talk that talk. When you can walk
Mhm.
that walk, I mean, that's how we do it. So, but all right, let's dive into this because, like I said to the audience here in the intro, this was kind of an impromptu show, really, to talk about this one specific topic that I think is super interesting. This is not going to be the only time we are going to cover it, but kind of a chance for us to do a little rapid reaction thoughts and whatnot, based around this announcement. So again, you can read about it on domain investing, domain name wire, all that kind of stuff. Effectively saying GoDaddy makes connecting domains to crypto wallets with ENS easier, adding a two-step wizard for connecting domains to Ethereum wallets. This is off of the domain name wire. And then tomorrow, so this show is actually going to air on Thursday. So we're recording on Tuesday night. Wednesday is going to be a Spaces where Paul Nix is going to talk about the detail about how this is done. And it sounds like the way that this has been finessed is that ENS has created this bridge to allow for Web 2 domains, like I said, to effectively integrate or connect to crypto wallets, and do so gaslessly. So, you're not paying gas for these transactions and or even not even transactions, but even to, go through the process of connecting.
To make the join.
Yep, exactly. So, what I think is interesting. So, I don't know if you want to kind of dive in first, or, I've got a couple of thoughts and things.
No, I mean, this is, in the end, this is actually nothing new, right? So this was probably 2000. I'm going to say it was 2020, 21 was the first time that somebody, I believe it was from ENS, figured out how to use uh, DNS settings to enable a let's call it a crypto wallet, an Ethereum wallet, to basically be identified through a legacy domain name. Okay. I think Daniel Nagari was, to his credit, with .xyz, was the first registry to recognize the importance of this and the potential to expand the utility of a domain name by connecting it to a crypto wallet, as well as for other utilities like digital identity, etc., verified identity. And he created some registry tools to enable easier connection of a .xyz domain name with a Ethereum wallet or crypto wallet. And so ultimately what's happened here, and not to say that, not to underplay how important this announcement is, it's very important because, people had access to Bitcoin before the Bitcoin ETF, but it is now easier to access for, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people. And in the same token, when the largest registrar in the world makes a two-click solution for anybody to connect a crypto wallet to their legacy, Web 2 or DNS domain name, it's a big leg up for just general adoption. It's a big leg up for, sort of forward progress, mainstream adoption. And what, I've said for a very long time is, the dovetailing of domain names and crypto. Ultimately, as I've said, I think, ultimately it'll be Bitcoin. But the dovetailing of these two asset classes and emerging technologies was inevitable, and this is a big leap forward in that that dovetail. Um, on the topic of domain investment, I've seen a lot of hot takes on Twitter where people are like, oh, this basically proves that, Web 2 domains are evolving, and it's really Web 3 and Web 3 domains are the shit and Web 3 domains to the moon. And look, as one of the first, maybe the first domain name, person to have gotten involved in ENS domains back when it first launched. Okay. Literally, I guarantee you, I was in the first 100 people to ever register an ENS domain, a .eth domain. Okay. It was literally day one, the first day they became available. In the first hour of them becoming available, I was registering hundreds or thousands of
them becoming available.
Okay. Literally the first minute, actually, because I had literally one of the ETH. I was in Panama. I had one of the,
man. That's
dude. I had one of the ETH devs sitting at my dining room table with me, helping me to register some of these things.
That's awesome.
So
I'm just letting them know. That's all I'm saying. Just let them know.
Anyways, early adopter, unstoppable domains, early investor into the company, early investor into some of the domains, super early adopter into, Handshake and HNS. So, across the board, but as I got deeper involved in those projects, as I came to understand the limitations of Web3 domain names, as I came to understand that there really, I don't want to say there isn't a limitation, but I would argue that the amount of utility that we actually, it's kind of like, they say we only utilize 10 or 20% of our brain, right?
And for a lot of people, it's much less than that.
DNS is a very
underutilized system,
underutilized protocol. Okay. There are a lot of things that can be done with DNS, with mapping digital real world assets to the digital realm and vice versa, managing real world assets, utilizing domain names through things like Internet of Things. There is a lot of upside to the utility value of DNS. Okay. And I think this is just one more sort of notch, okay, in that utility belt. And what's important to remember is when we talk about increasing the utility of a DNS domain name, when you look at any asset, the more utility it has, when you add commercial ability, when you add commercial potential, when you add commercial utility, you are adding value. That's literally the definition of value add. And so what does this do? Well, if it immediately increases the value of premium, desirable, commercial.com domain names. You could say all, but the cream rises, right? So you're adding, you can put stirrups. You could put stirrups on a on
a donkey, but it's not going to have you win the Preakness.
100%.
Right. So let me jump in real quick because I think this is a really important point, and I want to dive into this some. Is really like who benefits, right? And when you look at where the effort was placed, and big shout out really to both sides in that GoDaddy and the ENS group to move this along and get it done, right? But when you look at it, I mean, it's interesting because it's really Web 2 domains now have Web 3 domain functionality, and it's not so much in the reverse, unless I'm mistaken in how the thing works, right?
No, you're not mistaken. This literally, what's funny though is that it's literally the ENS guys, right, that have basically they've made Web 3 domain names obsolete. There's absolutely, in my mind, I would love to be told I'm wrong, okay? And I'm sure I will. But in my mind, I cannot imagine a single reason to own a Web3 domain name, okay? And people say, oh, well, because you actually own it, because it's actually going to be property, or because it is not subject to, takedown or subject to, the law. Or whatever stupid reason you want to come up with. But the reality is none of that gets you anywhere. We've talked about this, right? This is why I said short Web3 domain names, long Web 2. Okay. I said this, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when I had this pivotal moment where this realization, it was like, there's no there. You're never, ever, ever, ever going to get one of the mainstream browsers to resolve a Web3 domain name. And if you can't do that, then you are limited in utility to a wallet, which has value, right? Having, you know, a simple, easy to remember wallet address is useful. But even that doesn't really work because you can have the exact same Web3 domain name on another chain that looks identical. And unless you know which network your wallet software is utilizing, you could be sending money to Jonathan dot whatever, and it could go to the wrong person because somebody else has the exact same domain name on a different network. Right. And so this whole thing was never, ever going to work. Okay. And once you take the time to really think it through, it was abundantly clear that it was never going to work. And ultimately, it's kind of, if I go back and I think about my philosophy around crypto in general, it's right in line. And all of these things are parallels, right? So I said from the beginning, I said, I'm interested in all this shitcoinery, all right, all this crap coin, okay, including Ethereum. Ethereum's a fucking worthless crap shitcoin. But I'm interested in all of this because I think it's intriguing. It's a nursery, okay? It's a nursery. It's like a sandbox where people can explore interesting new innovations and technologies, and stupid people and gamblers can have fun, staying poor in all this garbage, right?
Okay,
and
time out.
That's fine, okay?
Yeah.
But the shit that actually works, if they find a utility that has real world demand, real world functionality and need, solves a real problem over a 10-year period of time of battle testing, ultimately it will end up as a layer 1 or a layer 2 functionality of Bitcoin. And the same can be said with Web3 domain names. If there's anything there, ultimately, it will become a function of legacy domain names because it's just shitcoinery. That's all any of this stuff is. And I'm overemphasizing that because it's really an important point for people to understand. Okay. Yep. It's not that there's no value in any shitcoins. Okay. It's just that it's limited. And if you go to the apex, then it's unlimited. And the apex is .com premium domain names, and the apex is
use the
Bitcoin.
Mute. Don't make me use the mute button, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what do you want to say? You're gonna say some bullshit, rainbows, butterflies, shitcoinery bullshit. What are you gonna do? I'm up here on my maxi. I'm up here on my .com Bitcoin maxi soapbox, and now you're gonna come here with your shitcoin megaphone.
Hey, look, all I'm gonna say is a couple of things. You said nursery. I think the term you're looking for is sandbox, right? Which is, obviously it's basically
I said both.
But it's basically the same thing where it's effectively like it does create a real interesting opportunity to test things and develop things and try new things, right? I wouldn't go as far as to call Ethereum a shitcoin because it's pretty highly adopted and it's utilized for a lot of interesting stuff. I think that.
Oh, wait, hold up.
Okay.
Shitcoin.
Okay, cool. And it's all good. I agree with you to an extent in that I am also, pretty high.
It's centralized. It's centralized. It will never be decentralized. It's a fully centralized
DNS, and that's actually something that use DNS.
I would actually argue that DNS is more decentralized than Ethereum is.
Okay, that's an interesting.
There are better checks and balances on the limited decentralization of DNS than there is on Ethereum.
Yeah, and look, and I get it. You also said, clearly
there are 11 master nodes that protect the DNS. They are distributed throughout the world. There are, I forget the number of people that basically hold the keys that ultimately are what allow or disallow changes to the root zone, access, right? Yep. And look, the proof is in the pudding. Okay,
they're both less centralized than Solana, which requires the devs to in tandem turn off and on the shit, like make it work when it breaks down.
But here's the deal. Here's what I'm going to tell you.
And I'm bullish on Solana. I like Solana.
Solana is less of a shitcoin than Ethereum is, and the reason is Ethereum tries to pretend that it's not a shit coin, and it tries to pretend that it's decentralized. But Solana, they don't even try to pretend. They're not out there saying, "Oh, we're fully decentralized." No, they're like, "Yo, shit ain't working," and you know,
We're gonna get everybody on a Discord chat, and
yeah, we're gonna have Raj. Raj just went out in the back and flipped the switch. We shut that bitch off. You know what I'm saying? We'll check back in 5 hours. Check back in 5 hours, and we'll let you, let you send your money all over the world.
Very much like, look, speed kills in a good way, right? Like they're saying,
Solana has a purpose, right? It's kind of like .org, okay? .org is not .com. It never will be. It's not as good as .com, but it has a purpose. It has a brand, and that brand is right. Trust and blah, blah, blah. And Solana has a brand. Solana is like the corporate. It's like the utility. It's the utility network, right? It's like mega fast, mega cheap, right? It provides all of the things that people want in that ecosystem, but they don't have a pretense of, oh, we're fully decentralized. Ethereum tries to have a pretense of, look, we're decentralized.
And I hear everything you said. I think, and I agree.
Listen, we are at the precipice of an imminent bull market, okay? And I would simply encourage everyone, okay? And this applies equally to domain names as it does to crypto. Don't get irrationally exuberant. Remember where the value is, okay? Forget about all the price FOMO, okay? Bitcoin is the apex predator when it comes to digital, decentralized money. And ultimately, if you're playing in the realm of crypto, what you want is digital, immutable, decentralized money. And so if that is what you seek, Bitcoin is your only option.
You found it.
If you are seeking irrational gains, irrational exuberance, if you want to play in the crypto casino, then there's plenty of shitcoinery for you, okay? And the same applies to domain names. If you are long-term, you get it. You've been listening to DomainSherpa, you've been playing in the domain world, whatever it might be. You have made a decision that, yes, domain names are digital real estate. I believe in the long-term viability of the internet, and I want to own a piece of it. I want to plant my flag. I want to own some of this digital land. Well, then the conclusion that you should arrive at is that my best probability for long-term success is to buy .com domain names that have commercial ability, commercial value, commercial interest, and I should buy them with a long-term time horizon. I should understand what that potential buyer for this domain name might look like. I should understand what I think the price I can sell it for is, and it should be a materially higher than what you pay for the domain, okay? Everything else is speculation. Everything else is irrational exuberance, speculation. You might as well go to the casino, put your money on black or red or whatever other shit game you want to play. But that isn't investing. If, in my opinion, there are only two options for digital investment, and that is .com, premium commercial domain names, or Bitcoin. And everything else is unnecessary speculation and risk. All right, that's all I have to say about that.
No,
the other thing that I'm going to come back to and say about the ENS,
partnership.
Let's say joint partnership with GoDaddy. Hat tip and good looking out for Paul Nix. I remember probably 3 or 4 years ago, I had a call with Paul. We were talking about Web3 domain names. He was trying to wrap his head around if GoDaddy really has any business playing in that realm. Is there anything there? And, and this is basically precisely what I told him, is that the ability to integrate the wallet technology and digital identity utility of these Web3 domain names into the legacy domain names, I thought that was the future, and he's gone and executed it beautifully. I think this is a huge boost for GoDaddy. And hats off to the ENS team for doing the technological innovation that was required to make this stuff happen. So anyways, I think this is great. I think that this is, like I said, a big leg up in the dovetailing of these two technologies. And, it highlights and elaborates the utility and the value of DNS domain names. And pretty excited about,
Yeah, so in case the audience, kind of didn't pay attention there, basically Drew was taking credit for the deal happening, which is great. So thanks, Drew. I'm kidding. I'm playing.
I'm not.
I'm playing.
I'm not. I'm saying that.
No, look, I'm with it.
Potentially, and likely, I did plant that seed though in Paul's mind.
That's what I'm saying, though. You're like,
you know what I'm saying? What do I say? What do I tell people all the time? What do I tell people? What I tell people is I tell people my superpower is inception. Okay, that's my superpower. Baby. People say, well, what do you do? Why are you particularly good at sales? Why are you, how are you being the number one domain broker in the world 6 years in a row? You basically been dominating the industry for a decade. How what are you doing different? And I literally tell people, I don't sell. I do inception. That's my job. My job is inception. I plant seeds. Those seeds grow into an idea, and that idea blossoms into a transaction. And so that's what I do. I'm out here just planting seeds.
It's a good strategy. Shout out to Leonardo DiCaprio and Christopher Nolan. Inception is one of my favorite movies. Spin the top. Does the top actually stop spinning? That's the big question. But yeah, hey, look, well, I think it's interesting because, again, when I look at this, and obviously we're very bullish on .com and premium domains on the Web 2 side. I think Web 3 domains are interesting. You made the point on Tim Fair's show, very poignantly about Web 3 domains at this point in time, like, being good for, wallet addresses and, and some identity stuff. Right?
Again, though, even as wallet addresses, they really don't work. Like they work, but not without massive security risk.
Well, and I think that's where,
because of duplicity, because of the ability for anybody to replicate these domains.
Well, how do you replicate a .eth? How do you replicate a .eth domain? So if I've got Jonathan.eth,
well, literally Handshake, for example, right? So Handshake, somebody owns .eth, or actually, probably nobody owns it today, but because of this lawsuit, Handshake is now releasing all of the TLDs, right? They had reserved all the GTLDs, all the CCTLDs, all the major trademarks, top whatever it was, Alexa, top 1,000, top 10,000, top 100,000 Alexa website trademarks. They reserved all of those. Nobody could get them. But now they are releasing all of them. And I think those auctions are going on literally right now as we speak. And somebody will ultimately own .eth. And that will be on Handshake. And so if I said, let's say you own Jonathan.eth and you're like, yo, send me an ETH. I'm like, oh yeah, I go into my MetaMask and, I send 1 ETH to Jonathan.eth. Well, depending on the network I select in my wallet, I might be sending it to the Jonathan.eth on the Ethereum blockchain under the ENS domain protocol, or I may be sending it to Jonathan.eth on the Handshake protocol, which could be even a Bitcoin address. Right? It doesn't even have to be Ethereum. And so it's going to cause a lot of loss is ultimately what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point.
So
and obviously,
I honestly, as every day goes by, the more I think deeply about Web3 domain names, and believe me, I guarantee you there are not many people that have thought more deeply about this, because I actually put my money where my mouth is early. I don't think there's any there. Like literally, like I just don't. I think there's a lot of innovation in terms of wallets. I think there's a lot of innovation in terms of peer-to-peer communication, technology, identity verification, all kinds of stuff that's really important. but the actual domain names themselves, in my opinion, have zero future. Like,
yeah, and I think that's
none.
a really interesting. Yeah, that's a really interesting point because I do think that when you look at the technology and some of the utility and what they're capable of, right? There's a lot of benefit there. But then how do you? It's always been a question of how do you tap into that? How do you access it? And how do you get mass adoption for that, right? So, I mean, hey, I think this could be kind of the best of both worlds. It really just depends
Let's
on
put it
how the
this way. Think about
players.
it if there was no regulation over the telephone telephone lines. Okay. People would be hopping in and out of your calls, right? People don't understand the way this stuff works, right? So they don't get it, right? They think there's like a fucking direct line between me and you. Like, no, there's a whole bunch of intermediaries, and all these people are regulated. And so the reason you can have a, semi-private call that only the NSA can listen in on is because there's regulation. Okay. And so the like otherwise people, they had the switchboards, right? All those are open lines. People could just pop in and out of different lines. People don't get it. Okay. If you don't have some centralization on core connectivity technologies, then things get chaotic. You
Absolutely.
breeds chaos. And so, I don't know. I think that some degree of centralization, that's not to say that I don't think there's immense problems with ICANN and I ultimately, if we look out 20 years, I think that really what I would hope would happen is that intelligence will win and basically all of the registry ledgers, root zones should ultimately be on a blockchain, and really they should be on Bitcoin. And that can be done, but you got to overcome VeriSign and ICANN. But I do think that will ultimately happen because it just makes the most
And that's
sense.
MediaOptions is the industry's leading domain broker specializing in domain acquisitions, high-value domain sales, and domain name consultation. As pioneers and thought leaders on the subject of the domain aftermarket and domain name value, plus through their clear domain acquisition service, MediaOptions offers startups and established corporations an unparalleled scope of high-value domain options, providing access to domain names and curation technologies not available elsewhere. MediaOptions believes in the power of a great domain name and is dedicated to helping you obtain yours. Call or email today to put a domain to work for you.
When we had talked to Bradley Cam from Unstoppable here on the show, we talked about how the root zone being put on the blockchain, right? And that, there are real sort of the way that it's currently done is extremely clunky. It's inefficient from a tech standpoint. It's a mess. And that, there is a sort of like, see those memes that are like, this is what the world would look like if so-and-so just did whatever. And it's like this utopia type of thing. Right. And I feel like when we had those conversations with those guys, a lot of it was like the ideal vision here is if you could really get all the root zone stuff that matters and get it on the blockchain as opposed to, so what are your thoughts on that piece? Right. Is there,
well, if we think about tokenization in general, what should actually be on a blockchain, right? Not much. Okay. Everybody wants to put everything on a blockchain. I think that's silliness. I think that the things that belong on a blockchain are things that are in essence permanent. Okay. And so if we think about like Bitcoin, there are 21 million possible Bitcoins. They will in essence last forever. Some will be lost, but they still continue to exist in a immutable state on the Bitcoin blockchain. And so what are we actually changing is just ownership records of a permanent object on a ledger, right? And so that's what these things are. And so to me, domain names fit that bill perfectly, right? There will be an ongoing process of creation. Once created, it exists on a blockchain, and in order to update, the ownership of a domain name, there's a fee and there's a transaction that needs to take place, and there's a lot of discussion that we could have around, renewal structure, if renewal is necessary at all. I think it is. There's a lot of topics, but in essence, I think what's important is understanding what should or could live on a blockchain and what should not.
Yeah. What about DNS settings and MX records and stuff? Is that too kind of basic and changing on a more, sort of more quickly than the domain's ownership changes, that it's not worth putting something like that on the blockchain? Or,
well, I suspect that what actually needs to happen is that basically what lives on the blockchain is really just the ownership key, right? So it's like it's the auth code, right? The auth code is ultimately the private key, basically, in essence, that controls ownership. And then that token gives the holder, the owner of that token, has a wallet, right? And that wallet is then connected to a registrar client, right? And so registrars continue to be important because registrars would represent the the interface by which a domain owner interacts with their domain name, updates the DNS settings, etc.
This kind of plays into that idea of a neo registrar potentially. Those
100%, 100%. That is the future in my mind. That it just makes so much sense. Now, how long it takes to get there, I don't know. Obviously, you've got huge incumbents. VeriSign, ICANN. These are not things that move quickly. It takes 4 or 5 years just to get another round of, in this case, it took 8 years to get another round of TLDs out the door, right? Or 10 years. So, these things don't happen quickly, but my best guess is, the next 10 years, things are going to move very fast in general. The world is going to change, particularly the way that we interact with the digital world. And so I suspect, over the coming 20 years, we'll get there.
Yeah. And I think that, so I think that the original question that I asked way back in the beginning of the show is kind of like, okay, what was the, sort of the motivation for the different parties, who's kind of the winner here, right? It's almost like looking like it's like a trade in sports where people say who got the better of the deal and all of that. And it just seems to me like GoDaddy, but most importantly, Web 2 domains really are a winner here. But I think that, there's probably some, in my opinion, it seems like some pretty big strategic moves on the part of the Web3 folks, namely in this case, the ENS team, to again, establish the kind of relationship, own the bridge, start to build the inroads and really create the connection between the two that will give them opportunity to really extract value from here while adding legitimacy in a lot of ways. It may take some of the utility that you would normally only get with some of these Web3 domains and push it to Web 2 domains. But I think that it's still, reputationally, perception. I think it's important for, like the issue we always had with Web3 domains. It was like, look, like anybody that uses the internet, unless you're somebody who like thrives in the dark web, at the end of the day, like you recognize there needs to be some checks and balances on bad behavior, right? Like some of the horrible, terrible shit just can't exist out there. There has to be a mechanism to police that. There needs to be a way to manage,
Well, these aren't just statements that we should just make outright on behalf of everybody, right? It really comes down to like, if you were to ask public opinion and what I would say is like, on the one hand, you got a free and open internet, totally decentralized. There's no takedown. There's no censorship. And, the libertarian in me wants to love that, right? No brand protection, no nothing, right? And there's some part of me that loves that, the anarchist anarcho-capitalist in me, loves that idea.
The world burn.
Yeah. But the reality is that the, intellectual property interests, the homeland security interess, the,
that's a whole nother
digital
access and the ability to
digital
see
security interests.
Like
there's literally there's a 0% chance they are ever going to allow a fully decentralized web where they cannot take down, the most extreme content. And the truth is if you go out and you ask 1,000 people in public and you say, hey, fully decentralized, censorship resistant web over here, holla. Over here, you got the, the internet, that you know and love that we've got today. The benefit over here is that it's decentralized. The government can't censor. They're gonna say, 999 people out of 1,000 are gonna say, yes. I don't care. Okay, I don't care enough. And then you say, well, the downside of this decentralized web is, people can put child porn up and you can't take it down. And they go, it moves from 999 to 1,000 people. 1,000 out of 1,000 are going to say, all right, let's keep it like it is. Okay. You're never going to see these Web3 domains resolved. You're never going to see a mainstream internet adoption of some new Web3 internet that's fully decentralized.
So this goes exactly to my point, and where I think the benefit comes in for the Web3 folks and doing these kind of integrations and partnerships and all that is because they've got to kind of come out of the cave and into the light and figure out ways to create integrations and, again, whether they're holistic or, whether it's based on, whether it's quantifiable or whatever, I think the key is to really, figure out ways to increase the utility across the board, but I do see the big winner here being, Web2 domains and premium.coms, the best of the best get even better. And, but I could see also a pitch where it's like, hey, look, if you've got your .com, get your .eth because, this way you'll cover all of your bases. They're also
because of what? That's kind of like, brand protection. I think Microsoft, I think your business is at risk if the Microsoft business is at risk if you don't have Microsoft.horse. You know what I mean? Like, no, what do you like?
Well, except that I guess that's the thing.
Listen, somebody else owns MediaOptions.eth. You know why? Because we let it expire. You know why? Because that shit is a liability. Okay. Somebody else owns AndrewRosner.eth. You know why? Because I let it expire. You know why? Because that thing's a liability. Okay. It brings me no value and it costs ETH in, ETH, which is, already an opportunity cost for Bitcoin. Right. And so, it's just,
he's spitting tonight, folks, or early morning his time out.
I'm spitting truth, okay, which is something that most people could, do well getting more of.
People needing to hear truth. I do think that we don't have enough people that are really telling it like it is, and in the domain space, to me, has always felt somewhat like a safe space where we've got a lot of friends, a lot of colleagues, a lot of peers, people we've done business with and known for a long time. But man, I don't know. Things just seem more phony than ever with certain folks and certain things. And, I'm not going to name names, but man, I just, there's a bit of a vibe, and maybe it's because the world is a little bit topsy-turvy at the moment, but things feel a little bit unsettled and funky. But I'm 100%. Just saying, man, honestly,
listen,
short supply, we could use more of that. So
listen, you're in a rowboat in rough waters. This is when you're going to find out who you're in the boat with. Feel me?
Word up. Anyway, so all good there. Anyway, to close the loop, I think it's very, very interesting tomorrow. So this show is actually going to come out after the spaces. So I think there will be more information in detail that obviously is going to come out about the partnership, some of the functionality, the utility, how these things are actually going to play out. But on its face, I think it's super positive for the domain space. I actually think it's a big positive for both Web3, Web2, more for Web2 because it does really shore up.
Well, hold on. It is very positive for Web. I'm reluctant to even call it Web3 because for me, Web3's got to stink up. But it is positive for Web3. It is not positive for Web3 domain names.
Yes, I know. I understand what you said.
It's an important point, right? It is a big step forward in general adoption of, let's say, Web3 technologies. Okay. Which in my mind, the most important thing that we can do, the most important metric is how many people in the world have a crypto wallet, right? Ideally a Bitcoin wallet, but a crypto wallet. And the reason is that that's literally the first hurdle, right? Once those people have a crypto wallet, now the next step is they can actually utilize it, right? Whether that's to hold hold Bitcoin or, some other coin, or to hold, digital asset, et cetera. So I think that, I think it's, I think it's a huge leg up. I think it's a big, positive for Web3, but it is a total shot in the foot for Web3 domain names, in my opinion. I just don't,
Yeah. Well, I think I'm waiting to see the next step to where that kind of ties together, but I agree with you. And I think, look, I think that you have to think
and that's why you always a step behind, because you always wait for that next step. I'm just telling you where that next step is going to be.
I guess you're right. That actually, I couldn't have, I literally, pun intended, walked right into that one. But that was so well played. But I think, like you said, Web3 is bigger than just Web3 domains. And I think that is how these folks have to be thinking about it. I believe that is how they're thinking about it and doing this stuff in the first place. And I'm really interested to see how it continues to play out. But I think this is really cool. Happy to see it. Big shout out to GoDaddy, Paul Nix. Big shout out to the ENS team. And and big shout out to all the folks who have really good fucking .com domains. Your domains just got even more valuable. So congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what's up. So, all right. Well, look, I think we covered a lot of ground. We definitely got into this topic, especially since, like I said, there's more info to follow soon. We will be talking a lot more about this as we go. Obviously, this is the kind of thing that is important to us and definitely very, very interesting. And we love talking about it anyway. So, all right. Well, listen, Drew, thank you so much, man, for doing this morning, your time, to dive into this last minute. To the audience, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. For those of you who are still with us through the entirety of this show, without you, there is no us. I say it on every show. So with that, we'll say goodbye. I guess, and since it is a rabbit hole, I'll close it out with fair farin, which is a Scottish phrase that means good journey. May you travel far under fair skies and even further down dark, deep rabbit holes.
And before we close, I just want to make one quick little thing, little negative comment for GoDaddy. This is something you need to improve. But I was looking up, alternative domain names for dx.com, right? So I did a search, just to be very specific. I will send a screenshot. Maybe Billy can post it. But I did a search for dx.com. I said, I only want domains that are, 2 characters, but it gives me options which are 5, 7 characters. So, okay, problem with the filter. But even more perplexing is the first option that comes up is dx.link, shout out .link, okay? But literally over to the right, they got their little light bulb box, and it's like, why is this domain name so great? And the first check mark is it uses the .com extension. So I would like somebody to explain to me how the premium domain name dx.link for $455.99 per year uses the .com extension, because that is something I wasn't aware of. So if somebody could just get back to me and let me know how that works. By the
way, shout out to .link and to the folks over there. And but yes, so fix your stuff, fix your tools. We know there's definitely some clunky code out there in the system.
Yeah, we also and maybe this is probably user error, but it does speak to user interface, which would be a GoDaddy thing. I have sold a domain on Afternic. The buyer has paid. I've been notified that it's time to now transfer the domain. I click on the link to transfer the domain. There is, from what I can tell, there is no screen in Afternic by which I can actually enter an authorization code or receive the push instructions to push the domain to Afternic. Please, somebody, let me know how I do so, because it is kind of absurd to me that I can sell domains. It is certainly in Afternic's interest to get that domain transaction done, and yet I cannot, for the life of me, find the place on Afternic by which I actually transfer a domain to the buyer. So anyways, those are 2 issues that I have discovered this morning that I need solutions to, if anybody cares and is listening. Thank you.
All right. Well, there you go. And, and right before I was closing out the show, where I said fair farin, which is, as I said before you went on your little tech support rant, which is good. Hey, look, holler at Drew. Somebody let Drew know how.
What we're here for.
It is.
I guarantee you, I'm not the only one seeing these problems.
No, absolutely. And look, it's important that they get fixed. I know there's a lot
of people, you got a multi-billion-dollar public organization, they don't want to look stupid having dx.link say this domain's so great because he uses .com. It's like, last time I checked, dx.link uses .link, but that's just me. I could be wrong.
They're just reminding you as to how good it would be if it was a .com domain, So they're just letting you know. They're letting you know the pecking order, consistently.
Just in case I have to point this out to anybody. It's just one more reason why, I keep telling everybody .com is .com and everything else is a shit coin.
Yes, you do, and I would agree. But maybe we just wouldn't say it as bluntly. But maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe that's
the problem. Everybody wants to be. Everybody wants to be
nice. Yeah,
with baby gloves. Everyone's be nice. I don't want to offend anybody. What about all those poor bag holders holding, .club domains? I don't want to offend them.
Oh, this is late night my time, so this is pretty entertaining and fun for me. I hope that that all y'all out there in the world that do decide to listen or watch this show feel the same way. And anyway, it's definitely all with good intent. We got nothing but love for y'all, and hopefully this helps. And again, a lot more to follow.
Listen, the truth is always with good intent.
Of course. And it is. And look, I've talked to plenty of people who, bellyache about different bugs on the different platforms we use to go, GoDaddy, Afternic, Namejet, those kinds of things. It's like, we need y'all to be better so that, it works. We are dependent on your stuff.
That's it. Well.
So, it comes from a place of love. And with that, officially, we're saying
nothing but love, baby.
Nothing but love. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will see you next time here on DomainSherpa, where all roads lead to domains. Again, it's a rabbit hole. May you travel far under fair skies and either further down dark, deep rabbit holes. Peace out, y'all. We'll see you next time.